In this lesson, we're going to look at the tab bar view. It's a pretty complex piece of code here. Well, at least complex compared to what we're doing. And if you've been following along at all with the official Flutter page, you'll see there's actually an example out there. I've talked to a few people and they've asked me questions about this, and that's why I wanted to do this specific example, because when you go out and look at their code, it gets pretty complex pretty fast. And a lot of people have come to me saying, hey, I don't understand what this is doing. How does this work? So we're just going to take a similar example. It's going to be a little bit different, and we're just going to break it down into something easy to understand. So let's go ahead and let's load up our live template. First thing we're going to want to do is make a new class. Call it choice. And in here we want the string title. This is just going to be the title of the choice and then the icon data. We'll call this icon. And let's make our default constructor. Okay, now this is where things get really confusing really fast. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use a mixin. I hope you paid attention into your Dart lessons. We're going to use the single ticker provider state mixin. I dare you to come up with a longer name for your classes. That is complex. Okay. Now, I'm going to make a controller. And we're going to make a list. And rather than typing it all out, I'm just going to copy and paste what I've got already. So we've got a list of our choice class. And as you can see, we have a car, bicycle, boat, bus, train, and walk, and with the icons showing up on the left. Saves us a little bit of screen time here, so you don't have to sit there and watch me type out each individual element. Each choice has got a title and an icon in it. All right, let's go ahead and get our initial state. And in our initial state, we're going to say controller equal new, and we want a tab controller. The length is going to be the items.length. This is the length of the list that we just generated. And the vsync or vertical sync, we want to do this. That way it knows what objects it's actually syncing with. Now, the build is going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to play around with this quite a bit. So you can see how we have an app bar in here. What we want to do is modify this app bar, and we're going to give it a bottom property. The bottom is going to be a new preferred size, and in here we have child and preferred size. So the preferred size, let's say, let's move this here, just because I want to. We'll say const size, and we want from height, and let's say 48.0. The child, we're going to make a new theme here. Theme has data and child, so let's branch those out here. All right. So in the theme, the data, let's set these to theme.of, and we want the current context, and we want to copy with color, and we want accent color, color is white. That is confusing. So what is this doing here? Well, we're saying take the theme of the current context and then copy it, and we're going to copy it with this current color right here. So the accent color is going to be color white. That's pretty confusing. All right, so now we've got a child. We're just going to make a new container. The child's padding, let's set this padding to... Actually, we're not going to do any padding. We're going to say height. We want this to be 48.0. We could pad it if we wanted to. It just looked a little weird. That's why I stopped and said, no, let's not do that. So the alignment, we want the align center. And then in here, we'll have a child. And that child will be a new, and we want a tab page selector. And this, of course, wants the controller, and we're going to just hand it the controller that we've got in memory. Now, you notice how, boom, no tab controller. We've already got an issue. Let's go ahead and reload this, and let's see what the issue is. Notice how suddenly it works, but nothing's happening because we have nothing to run with. That's why sometimes you got to just do a full application restart. The code works, but when you did a hot reload, it thought it didn't. So let's go ahead and look at our body. We're going to just take this entire body, and we're going to get rid of that. We're going to say new, and we want a tab bar view. And in our tab bar view, we've got a few properties we need to flesh out here. So the first thing we're going to do is actually put in the controller. And then we want to add in our children. And we want to do items. And we want to map this. Remember what map does is it takes each item in the list and maps it, quotey fingers, over to a function. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to just say bang bang. And now we've got a choice item. So what we're really doing here is we're mapping this to an anonymous function. And in this function, we're going to get a little crazy. We're going to say return new container. And it's still having a problem. Let's see here. Argument type iterable container can't be assigned to type list widget. Wonder what that's complaining about. Oh, yes. We got that container. We want to list, oh, that's the wrong spot. There we go. I always forget to list and I always have that issue, so I wanted to catch that early on here. All right, so in our container here, we want to do some padding. And let's do a new edit that's at all. And let's do this just 25.0. We're just going to bump that off the top of the phone there. And then child, we want to do a new center. Now that we've got it centered, we want a child within here, and we're going to say, let's add a new column. And of course we want children. I'm just going to scroll down a bit so you guys can see. Now within the children, we can actually add our individual widgets here. So let's go ahead and add a new text. And we want to map that to the item.text, or actually the item title. And then we want to do a new icon. And we want to map this to the item.icon. And we want to make that a little bigger. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set the size of that. We're going to set that to 120.0. Hot reload, and as you can see, now it is working. So breaking this down, and some things people have had some real problems with, is getting the controller to sync up. That's the vsync this. You have to actually do that, otherwise it will not work. And the theme gets a little bit confusing. And this right here is just really, really a chore to try to figure out on your own if you're not really used to that style of programming. Really all we're doing is we're saying take a tab bar view, give it the controller. The children, we're just taking the items and mapping them to an individual function. Map is a really handy feature, but as you can see, it can get really confusing. And do not forget to do the to list at the very end of that. Pretty simple, pretty clean.